And we are back with day 8 of Survivor 50 seasons in 50 days. I have officially been doing this for a week, and it's been a lot of fun. In fact, All Stars was a lot better than it was 2 years ago when I did this, and I can't wait to kind of break it all down, or most of it. So today we are joined by Maya, who's back from our Africa recap. I said rehab. Recap. And we have Steven from Survivor Quotes X on both Twitter and Instagram and wherever else you are. I only follow you on those.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay. And so I All Stars is a lot, and especially watching it in the first 7 seasons, leading into this over the course of a week. First returning season and all of that. And I know people kind of look at it as they're very on the fence on if they like it or not. You love the love story, but you hate the anger. Let's just call it what it is. Steven, you watched this live.
Mm-hmm.
Has your perception of the season changed throughout the years, and what was it when you first watched?
Yeah, definitely. I remember the anticipation of the season starting, and the culmination of the first 7 seasons was so exciting. And those first 5 episodes are incredible, and then everything starts to get a little darker. And I remember as it was airing, I was so excited and so happy, and then my favorites started going. And I had never experienced heartbreak like that before, where you see a former player come back that you've had such a long history of watching and enjoying. So I did not like All Stars the first time it came out after the first few weeks, because it was just too heartbreaking and too dark and kind of mean. But yeah, I think as the years have gone by and we've seen more returning player seasons and these characters grow and grow, I have a newfound love for All Stars. And I'm not one of those people that usually speaks bad about Survivor seasons, and I won't, because I love All Stars. So I'm really excited to talk about this season. I don't think a lot of people are really big fans of All Stars like I am.
Maya, you just watched Africa for the first time last week or a couple weeks ago, whatever it was. So you knew 3 people coming into this season. I kind of told you beforehand, like, hey, people are kind of, on the fence about this season. Now that you've had the chance to watch it as a whole, did you enjoy your experience?
Absolutely. I really like this season. I think it was really cool to see the extra layer that was added by people knowing each other from the past seasons, and even just outside of the game. It seems like that there were other connections that had been fostered just by people knowing each other from Survivor at that point. So that was really entertaining to watch, like those friendships get infused with the gameplay for me.
We're still in the era of returnee seasons where Jeff and production kind of try to add the illusion of these people don't know who's going to be there. Like we get moments where on all 3 beaches, we're like, we don't anyone could be here. It's like, okay, let's just, but it is fun when you don't know, and it is fun watching it now. It's like if it's almost like we've been spoiled as a pro wrestling fan, like when you learn that it's a work. I feel like it's the same with this, where it's like, wow, these people actually knew, but it doesn't matter, because I think it still adds to the excitement. As someone who watched from the beginning, Steven, were there any noticeable snubs from your perspective?
I mean, not having Colleen and Elizabeth was a big negative, but they both declined. But people like Sean Rector would have been great. I think Teresa T-Bird from Africa would have been great. Even early boots like Gretchen, and I know he's not a good person, but Scoopin at the time was a huge name. And people were not happy that he was not back, that they felt like he deserved a second chance after his incident with the fire. Yeah, there are definitely a few snubs, and a few people I think snuck on the cast, but have since proved themselves. But at the time, we were not happy.
And that's the thing with this season, is that it is very top heavy. And all of them sort of go out pre-merge, with the exception, I would say, maybe Rupert was America's sweetheart at this point. So, like, Rupert making as far as he did, yes. Outside of that, I feel like Lex is probably the next biggest name to make the merge. All the big names go home early, and I do think that is, despite what we get at the merge, I do think that does lead to more exciting characters that we get to learn. We don't know Boston Rob or Amber without this merge. I feel like Rupert kind of solidifies himself as who he is. We possibly don't get Jenna back for season 50 without how she does in this season. Cheyenne, probably the best narrator of the season outside of Boston Rob. Like there's a lot to love about this merge cast, knowing the fact that we are losing all of it's very similar to Winners at War, where we're losing all of our favorite people early. For you, did you have a winner pick coming in, Maya? Like, just not knowing what happens and only knowing a fair few people, was there anyone that you were kind of vibing with from the beginning?
Someone who really stood out to me was honestly Cheyenne. Cheyenne. Yeah, she honestly, the way that she fought for her spot every step of the way until she absolutely couldn't keep going was just really impressive to me. She didn't care what the other people had to say about her. She knew when she was in a bad position. That one challenge where she had to hold her arm up above her head to win, it was amazing. I respected her gameplay, and I think she should have, or I wish she would have lasted longer. But
Steven? Yeah, I love Cheyenne. I think she's great, and she tells it like it is. And she was the only one that was really calling out Boston Rob and Amber on the fact that they were the ones in charge, and everyone knew it. But she was the only one that was really willing to go against it. You had Big Tom, Jenna, and Rupert who were kind of like, "Yeah, we'll settle." Like that was frustrating, but Cheyenne was a fighter the whole time.
She called who the winner was in that vote, and I think that is a testament in itself.
And she was the only jury member that wasn't bitter.
Yes, and we'll get to the final tribal. We'll get to that. And I guess to keep the conversation on Cheyenne, yeah, she is the only person back from Thailand all time. We will never have another person back from Thailand. I could probably promise that. But Cheyenne, in her second time around, I'm not a fan of advantages and idols. I've never been a fan, but they do lead to some fun moments. This is the only pre-idol season that I wish there were idols, because it would have been great if Cheyenne finds one the round after she wins immunity, because then they're going to have to really start showing their cards, and Rob might actually be in danger. The storyline kept being, oh, Rob, any moment now, Rob's going to go home. It's like, okay, yeah. Sure, but Cheyenne, my favorite episode of the entire season is the Cheyenne immunity episode, because it starts off with touchy subjects where Alicia catches a lot of strays. It goes into the endurance challenge, and in between all of that, Cheyenne's trying to make deals with people, and no one's having it. So when she finally wins, and it's so funny because Alicia threatening her, it's like, she has immunity. You can't kill her when you get back to camp. So yeah. So and even though it's a unanimous vote of Alicia going home, for me, that's the best episode of the season. Stephen, do you defer or?
No, I love that episode. I think it's great. It's up there, I think, with episode 1 of All Stars is just incredible for the nostalgic factor and the epicness. But as the season goes on, that Cheyenne immunity episode is incredible.
Maya, did you think Cheyenne stood a chance after this episode?
No, I didn't think so, unfortunately. I think unless she would have kept winning those immunity challenges, she wasn't going to stay.
Well, and she comes close in the one that she loses to Big Tom in the next episode, and it sucks, but I do feel like it leads to the next big point of the season, which we'll kind of get to later. But like you mentioned, she did kind of call out, hey, Amber's actually the one that's doing a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. And ultimately, we'll see what happens with the vote at the end. Kind of going back to the pre-merge, Rudy wanting to align with Rupert, he just gets this vibe that Rupert's a stand-up guy right before, and then Rudy gets voted out, and to quote the funny 115, he basically calls a jihad on everyone left in the game. Maya, was this your first time with Rudy Bosch? I'm assuming you haven't watched season 1. What did you think? Even though he was only around for 2 episodes, what did you think of Rudy?
I mean, he's an absolute badass for just getting out there at his age. That was impressive, for hanging out with these kids. And I think he just wasn't really social, it seemed like. It seemed like he very much kept to himself, and he wanted to ally with Rupert and maybe thought that Rupert would bring him more friends in the game as well, but he didn't really go out of his way, it seemed, to make connections of his own. So I didn't get to see too much of his personality other than he looked like a wise old man who was strong to be there.
I mean, 75 years old on Survivor. That's crazy.
Crazy.
The other person from that tribe that I kind of want to touch on is Jenna Lewis, because Jenna Lewis comes in out for blood from the very beginning, and for me, watching Borneo last Sunday and seeing such a stark difference this time, it at the beginning, yes, you're annoyed because she's trying to go after our favorites. She's trying to go after the winners. She gets rid of both Tina and Rudy. But it's still like, oh, this is cool because she's not Pagong Jenna. And then by the end of it, I feel like for me, it becomes she goes back to being annoying because of how she's getting along with Sheehan. She just comes off as overly angry towards you. And I understand that this is because of, hey, we've been out here for 30-something days and we're exhausted. Steven, Jenna 2.0.
Did not like her at the time. Looking back now, years later, I love her. I think she's great. She's really the only competition to Boston Rob there towards the end. You have Sheehan, who's powerless but is fighting against him. And I think if Jenna and Sheehan would have tied together, like that would have been a move against Rob. But simply, they didn't because of personal differences. And Jenna does have that personality that you either love her or hate her. And I don't think she cares if she's abrasive. And that's what you love to see in a Survivor character. And she had a good strategy, too. I was really impressed with her.
Honestly, yeah, Jenna was my winner pick for season 50, and that's the way that goes. But I was really excited to see what she would bring to 50 based off of what happened in All-Stars over 20 years ago, right? And so, and she brought that same attitude because she tried to go after Suri first. Bad idea, but it happens. This is also the first season where we have an extended cast. With the first season that we have 3 tribes from jump, like from the very beginning. Jeff also brings up at some point, this is the first tribal that we have 2 immunity winners, or 2 people with immunity. It's like, well, technically last season there are 2 people who have immunity at the merge, but I'll let it go. Take a drink is something that I did earlier during the pre-merge. Take a drink every time Lex brings up this is a business trip or I'm not here to play with my friends. Maya, you just watched Africa, and you know kind of my opinion on Lex both there and here. Was he different to you, or did you just feel like this? Oh, the same old Lex.
No, he was different. I would say I liked him more this season. I think he was a little more. Maybe he's just a little quieter. That's the word that's coming to my brain. But he didn't really go out of his way to try to make as many flashy moves during the time that he was there. He was trying to be loyal with the people he was with. And I was sad to see him go. I think that he deserved to stay longer than he did.
Steven, how are you on Lex?
Lex is interesting because in Africa, he's a paranoid villain, but also a family man, and he's charming, he's quirky, he's got his tattoos, he's a dad, and then in All-Stars, he comes back with this fire where he just really wants to win, and he keeps saying, I don't care about friendships, like you said, and then he's betrayed by a friend, and it's like the end of the world. So he's just, is he a hypocrite? Yeah. Is that entertaining? Of course. So I really am a big fan of Lex and Kathy working together as a duo, so I'm deferring to loving Lex as well, since I'm a huge Kathy fan, as you could tell from my Twitter profile. So I'm a big fan of Lex.
So as I guess the non-Lex or Kathy person here, we'll go on Lex for a second, because yes, he gives his whole spiel to Ethan about, hey, can you be a man and lose, even though like we have to separate our friendship from the game here. And you fast forward to the merge with him and Rob, we're going to talk all about Rob a little later. It does feel hypocritical. Like, it's fun to watch. It is very compelling television, watching him basically almost break down, saying, hey, I made this decision as a friend. You asked me a friend favor and I gave it to you, and you still are doing this, but Ethan's probably asking for a friend favor of keeping him in the game, and it's that merge episode is another one where it's like this is let me just remove the fact that I don't like this season. What else is there? And the merge episode is one of those episodes where it's like, yeah, you know what? I get where people are coming from when they say this is great TV outside of the love story, because you see a real life friendship blow up in real time with Rob and Lex. I want to quickly go to the other part of that duo of Kathy, because Steven, I know that Kathy's your favorite player, right?
I mean, I have her autograph right here.
Okay. So Kathy's your favorite player.
She said that to me like when I was 12 years old, and it changed my life.
Oh.
I know we briefly had an interaction years ago, I think on Twitter, because I think the last time I did this marathon, actually, I had watched All Stars, and I'm like, how do you like this woman? For this season, though, like I know this more Marquesa, but for this season, where are you on the Kathy train?
She wasn't great this season. She has some moments where she says some things I'm not a fan of, and she played a little more docile, and I really think her major season is obviously Marquesas, and that's what I relate to the most, is that journey. So on All Stars, middle of the road. I didn't dislike her, but I thought she could have played and just been a little bit more positive. It seemed like it was a really strong negative experience for her.
And I always go back to the Jenna's being a cancer around camp statement, where it's like, oh, any other phrase probably works better at that point. And my problem with one of my biggest problems with All Stars is I feel like almost anyone that doesn't make the merge is probably better off for it, because everyone that does make the merge, I feel like, especially if you were on the jury, with the exception, I would say, of Rupert and Sheehan, kind of, it just came, the phrase bitter jury basically comes from this season, where these people are so overly upset that they thought they were coming in to play Friend Viber. And for those that don't know what Friend Viber is, it's a online and live game phrase, basically, where you think you're going to be playing games with your friends and we'll probably just make it to the end together. I would say that the majority of this cast thought they were playing Friend Viber, and there were people like Rob, Amber, Jenna, Sheehan, just to name a few, that understood, no, we're still playing in a game with people that we know. And I feel like Friend Viber for me, has always been the big negative in this season. The fact that people are so overly upset that their friends are voting them out of the game. As someone who just recently joined the online community, do you kind of see where these players are coming from? Especially with that final tribal, but like I said, we'll get to that later. Do you see where these players are coming from, where they're so overly hurt because they're being voted out they're being lied to by their friends?
I think that most of them took it a little bit overboard, Lex included, honestly. I see where they're coming from, but if you're showing up as an all-star, friends or not, you should be showing up ready to play and ready to try to win. So they all should know kind of what it takes to get there, and only one person can take home the money. So
it makes you wonder, if they didn't want to be backstabbed by their friends, what did they expect? I don't want to take away anyone's pain, because obviously that's really powerful to go through, but there had to be some kind of emotional preparedness beforehand of, hey, my friends might vote me off. I should maybe not take this so seriously, but it's easy for me to say not being there.
Yeah, I mean, if what Kathy and Lex are kind of saying is true, that they had this final 6 solidified, whether on screen or off screen, and we're going to see this in basically every other returnee season, and I feel like the anger kind of diminishes every returnee season when they get voted out by their pre-game alliances. Here, I think because we're at the peak of Survivor, All Stars is the peak of Survivor as far as everyone watching. And so all of these people are famous. They go to the same parties. They do this, they do that. Hey, we're going to be on All Stars. All right, yeah, we got to get rid of all the winners. It's time for one of us to make the $1 million. Kathy, when she's talking to Rob, saying he was proud to go to the end with you. When talking about Lex, like he was proud to go to the end with you. It's like, and you understand her pain, you understand Lex's pain, but as a viewer, especially in 2026 eyes, it's more of a, what game did you think that you were playing? And we're going to talk about Kathy's speech a little later at Final Tribal, where that kind of she kind of brings that back. This is day 2 of 4 seasons that I'm going to get Rupert. And I said this yesterday, Rupert fatigue usually hits around Heroes versus Villains. I kind of liked him yesterday. Except for one big thing that we're going to touch on in a second, I feel like I really liked him today. In 2 weeks, when I watch Heroes vs. Villains, I don't think I'm going to be tired of Rupert yet, which is crazy because Rupert's not one of my favorite people. Stephen, where have you always landed on Rupert, or has that changed throughout the years?
It changed. I think when I watched Pearl Island for the first time when it aired, I was in like 7th grade. So of course, sucked into the Rupert Ultimate Survivor, outdoorsman, fisherman. That's so entertaining, I think. But as a game player, he's not the best strategist until probably Heroes vs. Villains. Does he play with a little bit of strategy? I'm not saying he's a great strategist, but those first 2 seasons he plays, he's mostly just playing Survivor to survive, and he's playing I'm catching you fish, keep me around, old school game. And I appreciate that. I'm a fan of Rupert. I do think his popularity was a bit overblown, especially now looking back. But he is one of the quintessential characters. I mean, I still have friends that talk to me about Survivor that they haven't watched in years, and they go, "Is that guy with the beard and the tie-dye ever back on?" I'm like, people still remember Rupert 20 years later. So he was an all-star.
I always compare him to Coach, where they're the different sides of the same coin, where they're like the ultimate Survivor characters and not the best game players, and it just kind of your opinion of them might just come from how you like characters on Survivor and how much you like the game players on Survivor. I'm assuming this is your first, or maybe because you've seen Heroes vs. Villains, I'm fairly certain. So this might be your second exposure to Rupert. In this season, were you vibing with him?
I absolutely was. In Heroes vs. Villains, they voted him out fairly quickly, so you don't get to see too much of him.
No.
Rupert makes it to the final 6.
Yeah, Rupert makes it fairly far in Heroes vs. Villains. Maybe Blood vs.
My bad.
No, that's fine.
I don't know. My bad. But anyways, I did like him. I like that he kind of takes on the caretaker of the tribe. I agree that his strategy isn't that good, but I think that especially if he's going to apply more strategy in his future games, I'd like to see more of him. I'm happy that he was in the season. I
have in my notes, Rupert almost kills his tribe, which yes, he does almost kill his tribe, and you feel bad for. I think the Jerry scene is ready to happen on the reunion, which is just. I'm so glad I do this when the reunions are on, because that has always annoyed me, even when I wasn't a Jerry person. Rupert almost kills his tribe, and the only other negative that I really have with Rupert this season is during the Jenna quit, during the Jenna quit. And this is one of those other moments this season where I just kind of just have a bad taste in my mouth, because one, Jeff kind of says, "Hey, it sounds like you're getting information from outside, out of the game, off the island." It's like that kind of comes off as accusatory. Mm-hmm. And then Big Tom and Rupert specifically are basically saying, "Oh yeah, like that's dumb. Why would you go home? We told our families that quitting. That's crazy that you would quit this." It felt gross, and I kind of put it in a bubble this time because I wanted to look at Rupert and Big Tom specifically outside of that one moment, and I do feel like Rupert outside of that one moment still works for me this season. But the Jenna we'll just call it quits because I can't think of a different word right now. Very emotional episode that I feel like is sullied by the 5 minutes that we have to hear everyone's opinion on why she's leaving the game. Thoughts?
Yeah, and I hate the scene where Alicia basically says, "Why did you even come here?" Like, I always thought that was really crummy. Everyone else handled it well, and if you listen to the DVD commentary, which the first 4 episodes on the DVD commentary are like RHAP's first episodes, like they're just so good because it's Rob and Jenna and Tina and Rudy. And Jenna says like people were saying these things, and like Rich Hatch spoke up and was like, she needs to go, like stop berating her. Like the way some people spoke to her I thought was terrible, and some people said really nice things, but the ones who said something terrible, they shouldn't have said anything at all.
Yeah. Maya,
I think that she showed a lot of strength with going no matter what they were saying. I just thought it was amazing, especially for the TV aspect of it, to see everybody so angry with her and saying these things to her, and her leave against all of that, and then she made it home just in time for her mom. Like, that was
when
very
those
touching.
words flash up on the screen, oh man, I bawl my eyes out.
Really?
It's so sad. I get goosebumps now just thinking about it. Like, I can't imagine being in her position. And she was what, 22 years old, 23?
Yeah, she was a kid.
Yeah. And some of those, they were adults in their 40s and 50s talking to her like, you're an idiot for this. Like, come on.
Tom saying, yeah, I told my family if something bad happens, don't let me know here. Like, wait till I get home. It's like,
yeah. If they're all dead, I'll find out when I get home.
That kind of shows how much importance he assigns to his family, though, compared to her.
But
I think
he says later his best friend in his life is his son. Oh, Bucky, or whatever his son's name was. Bucky what?
Bucky Bow.
Yes. Quickly, and I kind of brought this up yesterday as well. This is maybe the 5th or 6th season in a row where they are providing hard liquor to these people who are not eating anything. That, yes, for the most part, so like as part of the Shapiro tribe, they're just drinking rum and whiskey, I think, for a lot of this season, and it leads to a lot of fun moments. But in the back of my head, I always go back to Amazon of, oh, they gave them a case of beer at the merge because they tried to get them to sleep with each other because Amazon's a horny season. Well, season 7, it makes sense because pirates. Here, the challenge that Rupert wins, where he has an open bar. There, Shapiro has all of their alcohol there, and then there was another one that also had an open bar. Oh, when they have the yacht, like they're drinking a lot this season and also losing a bunch of weight, especially Big Tom. I know that we still get alcohol rewards here and there. There's the Mike White GIF, or however y'all say it. But I feel like they've calmed it down a lot in more recent years. Maya, as someone who wasn't watching back then, are you surprised by the fact that in both seasons you've watched Heroes vs. Villains, that they are just providing strong liquor to these players?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they're out there with no food, barely no sustenance in their system. Alcohol isn't really, I think, what they need, and it's not actually benefiting them very much, but of course they're excited to have it because it's their reward in most of the cases. So I think that it's kind of problematic to do on TV, honestly, but that's my opinion on it.
I'm in favor of alcohol on Survivor. I think we got great moments out of it. It builds tension. Who could forget Tom Westman getting blackout drunk in Palau? And he wins the next immunity because he says he wanted to save face because he was so embarrassed. So it creates these moments and moments of levity. And then I think of All Stars where Sue pees on the raft and Big Tom is drunk on the beach. Oh, she's such a hag. It's just reality TV was just so unfiltered back in the day. It was wild what they got away with.
Can I say, what I did love was in the recap episode when they got coffee, because they were all just bouncing off the walls, running around, ready to run marathons, and I thought that was super funny.
Yeah.
What 2 days ago I didn't realize, or I forgotten, that the Rob Sesternino vote out when they get rid of Roger and Amazon, the infamous and or famous vote out, is not, it's not in the season proper, it's in the recap. Very similar to today, where I didn't realize or had forgotten over the last 2 years that the mock tribal council that Shapira does in episode 1 is not actually in episode 1. It's in the recap episode. And like I said, for everyone that watches this that hasn't heard me say this before, I skip the recaps. So I was like, when does this happen? And I realized, oh, I missed it. If you've never watched the recap episode of All Stars, just fast forward to the mock tribal council that Shapira does, because it's amazing. And everyone is very spot on their imitations of people. Like, too perfect. Amber mimicking Tina Wesson is one of my favorite things ever.
She has her mannerisms. Yeah, perfect.
And you're still a bitch. Okay, so this thing is the love story. And I feel like the people that are overly high on this season, I feel like that's one of their main reasons, is this is basically Survivor, a love story. I tried to focus more on that this time because I haven't focused on that much since I was a 13, 14-year-old teenager, because I haven't cared. And this time, yes, it is something that as a viewer you do get attached to very early as Sesternino saying they're gonna do it. It's like, yeah, they are, and have 4 kids later. Maya, you mentioned how you didn't know what's inevitably going to happen with the proposal and all of that. Did you think that they were both playing each other?
Yeah, more than anything, I thought that Amber was playing Rob. I did think that Amber had more power in the situation overall, but then towards the end, they really did seem genuine. But honestly, even when we get around to the proposal, there still was a little bit of question in my mind. Is he just doing this so that they both have access to the $1 million? Like, now they both kind of win it at the end of the day. But I agree that you do get attached to it. You just kind of got to wonder the whole time, since it's a game, if it's really genuine or not.
Yeah, I think I wondered if it was genuine until they were separated pre-merge, when they did that second swap. And Rob is he's devastated. Like, you could see, even to this day, all the seasons you've seen Rob play, that's the most, like, upset you've seen. Of course, when Amber gets voted out in Winners at War, but in All Stars, he knows that she's probably going to go. Does he throw the challenge? Does he not? Like, but he doesn't. Like, and then he makes that promise to Lex. Like, you couldn't even write that. It's so perfect.
Well, you bring that up, but it was getting to him in Heroes vs. Villains. People.
Oh yes, yes.
He feels like it's all getting to him in Heroes vs. Villains. Yeah, I if you watch this, I know even back then, like I was a Boston Rob guy at 13, 14 years old. Now I'm more of a Boston Rob, like I enjoy him, and we'll kind of get to the final tribal in a little bit, but he's not as, with the exception of the one moment in Marquesas with John Carroll, Rob's never really done anything that's overly malicious from where I'm watching, and especially here. And I feel like he was cast as a villain in Heroes vs. Villains because of this specific season. Mm-hmm. Steven, as the lifelong Survivor fan, where are you kind of at with Boston Rob as a character, as a player, and all of that?
I remember when All Stars was first announced and they had the cast. I have the TV guide, the original one over there, and they announced the cast and everything. And I remember being upset that Boston Rob was there, because back in the day when the cast was announced, it was, oh, well, Sheehan and Boston Rob didn't even make the jury. They don't deserve to be there. And I kind of went along with that. So I was not thrilled that he was back, even though he was a big player in Marquesas. And then he betrays my Kathy in All Stars, so I hated him. And then Heroes versus Villains, he plays a heroic game and kind of juxtaposes with JT, so they have that flip. And he becomes a legend with Redemption Island and controls that whole season. And Winners at War, not great. He plays the same game, but it's hard to say that Boston Rob is not one of the top 4, Mount Rushmore Survivor players. I know some people think he's overrated. Some people think he's the best. I don't think he's the best, but I would want to be in his alliance if I was ever playing with him out there, because I know I'm going to be protected. He tends to form a small group and just stick to it, and he has that, I don't know, it's that lightning in the bottle of he's a TV character, but he's also a strategist, and that's rare in Survivor in those early seasons where someone can be that cutthroat but also entertaining. So I don't know, I have moments where I dislike him and other ones where I'm in love with him, so he's a colorful character.
Just talking about the love story, this love story is going to lead to a few seasons of The Amazing Race. It's going to lead to their entire pre-wedding and wedding being on national TV. It's going to get him 3 more seasons. It's going to get her 1 more season. Like, this is the beginning of a real. There's never been a decade. Go ahead.
They were on the cover of People magazine. Like, that's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah. This starts. Or this continues, I guess, because one of the fun stats of reality TV is that Boston Rob has been on some reality TV show since the 2000s. Every decade, Boston Rob has been on some type of TV show, and that's something that a lot of people can't say. And his longevity more than anything else. And I think this was the right thing to happen after his first time playing, because and I talked about this during the Marquesas recap. We talked about Marquesas for 2.5 hours. When Rob gets voted out, his vote out confessional is, I was just playing the game. Like, I hope that we can all be friends afterwards. I don't take anything personally. I hope no one else did. Like, you could tell that this man is a game player, but he knows how to separate real life and game. And you see it again here a lot this season. When the Lex and Kathy fight happens, and he's hurt, you can tell that he's hurt. That these people are saying, "Hey, you're burning our friendship." And at Final Tribal, he starts crying, and I don't think those were crocodile tears. I think those were real tears of he now realizes that his real life friends are no longer his real life friends because he voted them out of the game. And that's where I've always empathized with him. Like, winner wins, all of that. That's neither here nor there. I feel for him as a person by the end of this season, because all of the game moves that he did that were nefarious cost him all of these relationships. Yes, he got a wife out of it, so like he lost a lot along the way. Did you, Maya? This is your first time. Did you empathize with him by the end of it, or were you just like, no, this guy's kind of a monster?
No, I empathized with him. I think that the whole time he's saying he's out there playing the game. I think that he played a fantastic game, honestly. I thought that everybody else taking it so personal is the reason he lost the game, honestly. I think that I don't know, maybe if he would have done some things a little bit differently, but maybe a little bit more transparent with them, since they did have these long-lasting relationships pre-game. But as far as I saw, the show does a really good job pinning him out to be a villain, but I don't necessarily think he did too many things to be the villain. He just played the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I want to quickly, before the last pre-merge thing, well, actually a couple of pre-merge things. One, this is another season. They kind of started it with Pearl Islands, where you felt like Pearl Islands was, they threw a lot of twists in that season, even twists that some people forget about. They threw a lot of twists in that season. This is another one where they kind of just throw a lot of twists in and see what works and see what doesn't, including another, I won't call it a fake merge, because they knew that it wasn't merging once they're pulling the buffs. and I'll kind of touch on this a little later when we talk about things that the modern day fandom might not like. But here, I do feel like a lot of they're just kind of throwing a lot into this. The one big negative that I had this time watching is that it does seem like the season just kind of drags. And I think it might be that extra episode. It feels like they're just using a lot of filler in a lot of these episodes. I guess, Steven, going with you first. You said you've watched this season at least 15 times?
Yeah. Yeah. When the early seasons were on DVD, that was all.
Has it ever dragged for you?
Yeah, there's a few episodes I would say from like Colby till Lex's boot is kind of a drag right there, and but it's still gripping. It's still evil. It's dark. It's twisted. It's not the cheery Survivor we were used to. So it's fascinating.
Maya, did you find yourself taking breaks?
Not really. No, I really enjoyed this season. I don't think that it dragged all that much at all. I will say that people like Colby and honestly, a lot of the players that were voted out early, since I didn't have much of a relationship with them, they didn't really leave much of an impact on me. And it's crazy to think that these were some of the key players. Even somebody like Richard Hatch, he left such a gross impression on me. I can't believe that he would have won the game the first time. It just seems weird to think about.
So, and yeah. I don't know if either one of you, or well, I don't know if you've seen Game Changers. I kind of compare Richard's game here to Tony's game in Game Changers, where it's like, I felt like, because especially a lot of confessionals that Richard gets this season, it kind of just, he's so overly arrogant. It's like, okay, he knows he's playing with house money. He has to know he's not going to last long. And so I've been bamboozled with one of my favorite moments. But like, it's very comparable to Tony, where it's like, yeah, I'm just out here having fun because I know any moment now I'm going to go home. And that's fine because...
Interesting.
Yeah, because, like I said, pre-merge and post-merge this season, the people that went home pre-merge, it's almost better that they did. Last pre-merge thing. Survivor trivia. So a couple things that go along with this. One, how does Big Tom not know what country he played in? It's insane that Big Tom doesn't know what country he played in. Do you think, Steven, this is more of a question for you. Do you think, one, this challenge could actually work in a season like 50? And two, do you think that it should have been on season 50?
I loved it, obviously, as a Survivor nerd, but then you watch like Micronesia, where they did the reward challenge, where they had to name the seasons, and some of the players who were returning players, they didn't know anything. Like Parvati didn't know any of the answers. So you run that risk of making them look a little silly. And you don't want your all-stars to look stupid for not knowing your own show. So I think as much as the fans would have loved to have seen it, I don't know if every Survivor player would have had that knowledge that we do of the encyclopedic kind of fan knowledge. That being said, I think the people that ended up being on 50 would have known most of the facts. So I would have liked to have seen something like that. But I did like that they did it in All Stars. And it's like you said, with Big Tom not knowing what country, the worst part is his tribe didn't even correct him. Like they just let him answer Nairobi. Like,
Nairobi.
They all had to know that that's not a country. Like, come on.
They knew the first boots, but they didn't know what country Survivor Africa was played in.
Yeah, that was
so
insane.
Weird.
Maya, just because you haven't watched, do you think that you would have fared at least decently well in this challenge?
Absolutely not. No way. I wish. It makes me want to watch more seasons and get to know more about them all. And I do remember the challenge that you're talking about with putting all the seasons in order too. I think knowing that information would be cool. But for them to try to do something like that in season 50 just seems insane to someone like me. And as like a casual fan and as somebody who even wants to play the game. If I were to go and play the game and they gave me that challenge, I would lose quickly.
The merge episode, I would say that the Jerry episode and the merge episode are a good 1-2 punch as far as compelling television, because the swap, I guess, happens. Not really much of one, but the swap happens. Jerry goes home. The merge happens, and shit kind of hits the fan for Lex and Kathy. And Kathy, this is the quote I brought up earlier. Kathy says, "This isn't just a game when friends are involved." And once again, it is kind of like, and I know she's not the only person on the season that has this opinion. I know there are a lot of people on the season that have this opinion. For me, this time watching it, it just feels frustrating because I feel like if you brought back almost any of the people that had played the first 7 seasons, they would probably all have this kind of opinion. This isn't just Kathy's not in the minority at this point in the show's history. She is speaking for a lot of people, which is why Rob was kind of hated by a lot of people. Stephen, for you, where do you feel that corner turned as far as separating game, where people are no longer asking, hey, did you lie during the game? Hey, what's your integrity like? What's this like? What's it? Questions that, like, in season 50, I don't feel like we're going to get any of those questions on Wednesday. Where do you kind of fall as far as when you think that kind of happened?
I think All Stars is kind of the tipping point because people had seen Boston Rob do these things and make it to the end and only be 1 vote shy of winning. I mean, the first few seasons, it was a crime to make an alliance to begin with. So to even consider breaking an alliance was a big deal. Now on Modern Survivor, it happens every episode. So I think after All Stars, people started to realize, hey, I can backstab and make it far. And you see that in Vanuatu and in a lesser extent, Palau. And it becomes less villainized over time. And I think it really comes from All Stars.
This is the we quickly talked about the Sheehan episode, and we get touchy subjects, and I think the biggest change in this, because they have the chop thing that they had in Marquesas, and they add the touchy subjects thing that they introduced in, I believe, Amazon, and they combine it into one thing here. And Rupert doesn't do a great job when picking the order of how people are supposed to go, and he has Rob first, and then when Big Tom wins the next reward challenge, he gives it to Rob again, and at no point, at least from what we are seeing, does it seem like anyone still wants to go after him. Like, it's a conversation that is had on screen, but in my head, it's like, okay, we just need to have this, like, this moment where one person says something like this, so it makes it look like Rob could potentially go home when we know he's not. How was he able to get specifically Big Tom and Root? Because I feel like those are the ones that were really under the spell. I guess I'll throw Alicia in there too. But I feel like the 3 of them were really under the spell of, there's no way this man would ever turn on me. From your perception, like, why? How did this happen?
It's kind of mind-boggling for me too, to be honest, because you're watching it and you see, I thought of those same 2 rewards that you just mentioned. You see him get the meal, and then you see him get chosen by Big Tom, and maybe they just both want to earn favor with him. I mean, they know that he's with Amber. They know that those 2 are not splitting up. They know that he's a really strong competitor. He's very likely to keep winning the challenges. So maybe it's more of a Rupert versus Big Tom thing rather than necessarily them just both liking Rob. Maybe they just knew that he was their way for them to get further, and just tried to run it that way. I don't know. Because Rob seemed mean. When you see his confessionals, he doesn't seem like a very good guy. So I don't know
But
if he was out
they
there
don't see his
actually charming
confessionals.
them.
Yeah, they don't see his
I know
confessionals.
they don't, but I don't see him out there charming them. So that's what I'm wondering as a viewer, is how he was able to get that far and then get that many votes. So I don't know.
Steven?
It's tough. I think Rupert and Tom may have been using Boston Rob kind of as a shield, the way Amber was as well, kind of seeing, hey, he's taking the shots. He's the one who's looking like the asshole, and I'm not. It didn't really work out for them, but I don't know. I'm always drawn to like the final five when Rob instigates that fight between Rupert and Tom, because he knows I can't have these two aligning together. And it's brilliant that he can do something that simple. And
the way that scene is shot too, because like they are fighting and he's standing there smiling at them because he knows that he has instigated all of this. And then Rupert gives the confessional saying, hey, I know that Rob started this and I'm fine with letting it happen because of this, that, and the other. It's like, Rupert, if you know this, do something about it.
Mm-hmm. And Jenna is saying that all season long. Jenna's like, we have to take Rob out. Like, we're not, like, we're going to get steamrolled. And he's like, no, we're fine. Like, so that's
and
just
he says it at Final Tribal, you never broke our alliance. You never broke our alliance. And Jenna says the same thing. You never broke our alliance. Rupert brings up this is the second last thing. Rupert brings up the car curse. I think this is the first time on screen that the car curse has been mentioned. Maya, if you didn't know, every person that has won the car from seasons 2 to 14 ultimately does not win the season. So okay. Rupert brings up, oh yeah, I'll go home with $1 million. And Rob can have the truck. Now, Rupert does go home with $1 million. The America's Tribal Council is on my TV right now. The car curse is something that I'm very excited, especially going into the week that I'm going into. I'm very excited for a lot, especially Guatemala. Guatemala is probably my favorite moment as far as the car curse is concerned, because I love Cindy and what ultimately happens with that. Final Tribal. We've got Rob and Amber, the two main characters of the entire season. And from like Amber gives her speech, Rob saying, hey, I kind of know that a lot of y'all took a lot of stuff personally. I just want to let you know, game, real life, let's go. And I feel like the first two people really, like, you can just watch Rob's mood just drop with Lex and Kathy with the questions that they're asking, or Lex calling him out for selling his friends out for a sack of greenbacks. Mm-hmm. And Kathy saying if something came out in you and Marquesa that came out here, like it's once again, you really feel for him because these are two of his best friends in real life. And as it continues, yes, we have the Sheehan moment where she's like, hey, you guys need to cool your jets. We were all out here doing the same thing. Jen and Rupert are fairly good with it because they made it to the end. And we get the big Tom, don't be stupid moment along with Alicia's like wildness. When I personally say bitter jury, it's not based off of how they vote. It's based off of how they treat the finalists, because the Vanuatu jury is overly bitter too. The Fiji jury is overly bitter as well. With here, I feel like, yes, this is the foundation of a bitter jury, and I feel like this is probably the most bitter jury that we will ever see on the show. Steven, would you say that that's probably the case, or do you feel like there's been others that have like topped it?
There have been others that have had bitterness, but not to this level. I mean, people will always point to like Samoa and things like that, but I think they had a reason to be bitter in Samoa, whereas in All Stars, it's more of a personal thing, and it has a different layer of ugliness to it. And I will say, I did respect that Kathy voted for Rob after all of that. because she was genuinely hurt, but I think she could kind of look past that way more than Lex ever could. And I would say Lex probably to this day still has some anger about it. I know him and Rob have like quote made up and there's pictures of them like as friends, but that friendship has never been repaired. And I always liked Kathy's question to Amber, like how real was this? Was this your strategy or did you actually fall in love? And Amber is kind of she gives an interesting response to that, I believe. It's a wild jury. Alicia is extremely bitter, even though she had no alliance all season, and kind of didn't really play the game. And then acts like, "Hey, you ruined my life and destroyed me." And they're all and Rob is like, "Well, you didn't really like do much." Like, I don't know. It's a weird situation. As much as I love a bitter jury as TV, I did feel for Rob and Amber in that moment where. I think when Chien finally speaks up as the voice of reason, people in the audience agreed with like, "Hey, everyone's got to like take a step back."
Yeah, we're all bad people here within the realms of the game. Maya, are you feeling for these two people here?
Absolutely. I think that the jury was really kind of harsh on them. It makes me sad to think about the fact that Lex can't put it behind him to kind of repair the friendship. I did think that, funny enough, out of all of them that were mad, for me, Big Tom kind of resonated with me just because him seemed more like a gameplay reason to be mad. He was genuine about his alliance and seemed to really want to take them to the end and had never really given Boston Rob a reason to vote him out, and then he still got voted out. So that was like his whole "don't be stupid" I thought that was kind of funny, to be honest.
Yeah, Tom kind of shot himself in the foot though. Yeah, when he tells Rob and Amber, "Hey, I'm the swing vote. Like I can go to Rupert and Jenna if I want," and even Amber is like, "Why are you telling us this?"
Yeah, that's fair.
That's one of my favorite Amber moments this season is her just being, because I feel like we see this version of Amber like in that scene and the Amazing Race seasons that they play together. That is that Amber where it's like she's the aggressor. I can't think of the other one. She's the main character of the duo. It's great because Tom is just like outright saying, and she's like, if you're either with us or you're not.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we do get a 4-3 vote, but beforehand, the moment that a lot of other people, kind of talk about is the proposal. Rob proposing to Amber. They're together to this day. 4 daughters. I follow them on Instagram. They're very cute. And then the reunion happens. So before I get to the reunion, just from what we saw on screen, then we weren't there. So what we saw on screen, Steven, how would you have voted?
At the time, probably Amber. Now, Rob. It's tough because at the time everyone hated Rob for the things he did and the way he played the game. But now, even a year or so afterwards, people were like, "Hey, that was a good strategy." Like when you take personal feelings out of it. But in my day-to-day life, I tend to be more emotional, so I could see myself being a little bitter. So I would have voted Amber, I think.
Maya?
I honestly think I would have voted Rob because it seemed like he really was calling a lot of the shots. And I do think that they both were really big competitors in the challenges, honestly, but he's still the one who beat her out every single time. So I think that is important to consider as well. But they played very similar games. So I think ultimately the fact that he was more the leader in this game would have solidified my vote for him.
So we get the proposal, and then we get the reunion, which I don't watch the reunion while we're doing this, but it's ingrained in my head. And one, it's very apparent that all these people hate each other still at least at this point. 2, the Jerry Manthe thing happens. I know we didn't talk about her much here. And I talked about her when we did Australia the other day, and it's one of those cases of history has kind of saved her. The point she's trying to make is not booable. Even if you don't like Jerry Manthe, she's trying to say, hey, we're all human beings and we've always went through a lot of shit and then have to relive this shit months later when we have to watch on TV and see all this, people saying all the stuff about us. But this is kind of where we're at in our history as well as Survivor history, where it doesn't matter because we all hate you, so you need to shut up, and we need to boo you off the stage. And that's one of the reasons that I do this like this is because the first time I did it, I would watch the reunion first, and then I realized how aggravated I got with a lot of reunions. It's like, okay, I'll just have it play in the background while I do this. Maya, as your first time watching, did you feel for Jerry?
I absolutely did. I liked Jerry. I didn't really understand why people didn't like Jerry so much, but I thought she didn't seem like a very good competitor in the challenges. That's what I will say, is I think that she kind of brought her tribe down when she was on her tribe. But overall, I did feel for her and kind of how she didn't seem to have very many friends. People didn't seem to vibe with her very much.
She was the original villainess of Survivor. Steven, were you one of the not a booer, but were you at this point in Survivor history, were you more pro or anti Jerry?
I remember cheering when she was voted off in Australian Outback because the hatred towards her, we all were sucked into it, even though, like, looking back now, it was mostly just sexism against an outspoken woman who dared talk about, like, lusting after a man on TV, like, God forbid. Like, so I was not a huge Jerry fan at the time. I remember when she got booed off the stage at All Stars, I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, I hated that she left. But now looking back, like you said, what she said was 100% accurate. And she was so close to being on 50, and that breaks my heart. But at that time in All Stars, I definitely bought into the hate as well.
Yeah.
And I regret that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like you said, I wasn't pro her getting booed off the stage, but I was definitely still in the boat of, it's Jerry talking, so what does this actually mean? Which is ironic because if Rupert had said it, we would have all just taken it hook, line, and sinker. Yeah. Which leads us to the last thing about this season, America's Tribal Council, where I felt like it was already, there was no way that Rupert wasn't going to win. It was impossible because of either recency bias or whatever. There was no, it's very similar to what is probably going to happen this Wednesday. Maya, you didn't live through this, so you didn't know people's reputations. Was there anyone on this season that you felt like America, by a large margin, they're going to vote for this person to give them $1 million?
It would have been Rupert. Absolutely. He comes across as that lovable guy, and especially getting to see him with his wife and the connection that they have, and seeing, like I said earlier, how he's such a caretaker for everybody there. If he's not making it to the final two to win the $1 million that way, I feel like America would want to give it to him just because of how he portrayed himself on screen and to everybody else on the tribes.
Yeah, and he has that storyline of being bullied as a kid, and I think everyone can relate to that as well. But I used to know someone who worked in production, and I knew the top 5 vote receivers in the America's Final Tribal Council. And I believe Rupert obviously was number 1. And then number 2 was Colby. Like, he was such a big deal in Australian Outback. And he doesn't really play much of a role in All Stars, I think. But he was so loved. And the final percentages, I don't remember, but Rupert ran away with the totals, but Colby was not too far behind. And then it was Boston Rob, Big Tom, and actually number 5 was Rudy. Rudy was so loved, and he went out second. And a lot of things that Rudy said, looking back now, were not great in season 1. He doesn't really say anything controversial in All Stars, I think.
Besides the jihad.
Yeah. But, I mean, you can't help but love Rudy. I mean, but I'm okay with America's Tribal Council, but I rolled my eyes before because $1 million, the same amount that Amber got just for being popular, I think was a bit too much. Maybe if it was 100,000, it would have been less controversial. But yeah, I think even at the reunion when Jeff announces it, everyone kind of claps towards Rupert, and he's got this big smile on his face, and it was a foregone conclusion. I remember voting on CBS.com, and there was no limit. You could just keep voting and voting. And I voted for Kathy over and over and over again, but all my friends were voting for Rupert, and I knew, like, there's no shot Rupert doesn't win this thing.
Yeah, I'm going off of what's going to happen this Wednesday. I think I've only seen 2 players like post to campaign, and one of them is Stephanie LaGrossa. And I'm just like, I'm looking at her comments. I'm saying there is no chance in hell that she gets top 5 because for me, I feel like it'll probably be just removing all bias, some mixture of Sareed, Devins, Christian, and
maybe Ozzy.
Yeah, maybe Ozzy. Yeah. Yes. But I think whatever the vote is, I think it'll be a lot closer than what we got here because this is still peak Survivor. There are more people voting, and more people are freshly on the Rupert train. And so the fact that Colby Donaldson got second just shows, yes, how big Colby was in Australian Outback, that he's catching all of these votes 5-6 seasons later. Final question. Maya, modern day fandom, however you perceive the modern day fandom, what is something in this season that you feel like the modern day fandom would not be a fan of?
I think specifically how personal everybody took the getting voted out by their friends thing. I think that at this point, Survivor fans realize that it's a game and realize that there's a certain level of gameplay that is going to be needed to get you to the end. Something that I guess I didn't love is that I love the love story, don't get me wrong, but I think that sometimes it almost feels like Rob is just kind of bringing Amber. Like Amber's just kind of making it there with Rob, and there's really, like, did she earn it? They worked as a team. I guess they earned it together. They had to. If they hadn't have earned it together, then I don't think either of them would have earned it. And I think that looking at that fact as a modern day Survivor player, you just wonder, can a game ever happen like that again? Like, is this game even feasible? And like, does that mean it was a good game, or does that just mean it was a very unique game and that's what it is? I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it would be like a perfect season, I think, in the perfect world that they could just redo with the exact same cast. Like, it would be fascinating. Obviously, that's not realistic, but if you do All Stars over again with the same cast, that would be wild. I mean, you had Mogo Mogo, who was like the Avengers of All Stars. They were the top 6 like names of Survivor. Even Cheyenne was like the lowest known player or respected, and she was a big name. Like Mogo Mogo was wild, and then they just fell apart to Shapira, who was seen as like the lesser players, to put it nicely. So
Cesternino's the biggest name on that tribe, and he's out first.
Yeah, and I think we missed it before, but one thing that Boston Rob did that I thought was a little mean was he makes that alliance with Rob Cesternino right before Tribal Council. It's like, he's going to go. Rob, see, he knows he's on the outs. Why do you have to do that to him? There's not an idol that he has to worry about. Like, there's no shot in the dark. So I thought that was a little crummy. I don't know if Boston Rob was a little jealous of, quote, being the lesser Rob.
Rob.
Yeah, he wanted to establish himself. But Rob C, I think, took it hard. I know he's talked about that over the years, that he took this loss hard. And I don't blame him.
That moment where he sees the second Rob pop up and he just goes, and then the third Rob, and he's going to break down. And that it's crazy that's the last time that we see him on the show. And then when we get him in Traders and he goes out when he does, he has a moment very similar to that on both the show and when he did his own recap of it on his podcast, where you feel so horrible because you can tell this man just loves this. Whatever this is, competitive reality TV, this man loves this. And the fact that he has gotten sniped the way that he has the last 2 times that he's played is heartbreaking, not only as a viewer, but as obviously as a player who everyone kind of still puts on a pedestal. He's still one of my favorite players. Steven, for you, modern day fandom, what are they not liking here?
I think modern fans would struggle and dislike just how rigid the season was, where there was no major changing of alliances. And I think it all started out with 3 tribes of 6, where you have Boston Rob and Amber jump together into this alliance, and they're 33% of the tribe. All they need is one person to pull in, and they've got the numbers, and they just snowball from there, and it makes the season predictable. So I think some viewers, if it were in modern terms, would struggle with the predictability. The Chien brings up the quote of pagonging, which I think that's the only time that word has ever been said on Survivor, even though all of us fans use it.
Yes.
But yeah, you have the pagonging going on. You have this evilness between the people. So I think the predictability and the rigidness of the alliances would turn off a lot of modern viewers. But I love it. So
yeah. I'm giving All Stars a 3.25 out of 5, which is up from the 3 out of 5 I gave it last time. I do feel like this time around, because I'm trying to remove any type of just anything from it, that it is the fact that this is the longest season up to this point, and I was able to do it without taking any breaks. Like, I did not take a single break watching this. And I probably could have during that period that you said, during the Ethan Colby type episodes going into the Jerry vote. I could have easily just been like, okay, we'll pause here. But I didn't, because it still flowed well, because I knew the Cheyenne episode was happening eventually, and I knew what we were going to kind of get at the end. As far as what the modern day, for me, because the fandom loves to complain about twists and advantages, I feel like the fans would have a hard time with they hate the fake merge in season 41 through 50. I feel like they would hate a fake-ish merge here. I think that they would consider Jerry robbed. Why are they allowing Rob to talk to Lex here? Why are they allowing Jenna Alicia to jump and hug Amber before they go off and part ways? They hate it when Joe and Eva did it, and I did too. But I feel like they would hate that as well. So that, for me, that would be the big thing, I guess, from All Stars that y'all didn't say. My final thoughts on Survivor All Stars.
Final thoughts was, I think it was really cool to see the players come back and go against each other. I think that it's not my favorite season out of the ones that I've seen, but it was really cool to see. For example, I'd never seen one of Boston Rob's early games. I'd seen Heroes versus Villains, and maybe that's where he got voted out early. And it was interesting to see kind of where he got his reputation from. And same goes for a lot of the other big names that were out there. So I did enjoy watching it for sure.
Steven?
I'm always going to be an All-Stars lover. Those first 5 episodes are so epic to see all these players from the first 7 seasons come together. That first immunity challenge still gives me chills when I watch it. Them all diving in, doing the first immunity challenge over again from season 1. I'm a sucker for nostalgia, so I love that. And one thing we didn't bring up that I always loved about All Stars was the reward challenge, episode 4, where they're doing the mixer, where they all have the boxes with the matching items. Like, that challenge is so fun to watch all these All Stars interact. Like, that's a challenge I wish they would have done on 50.
Yes.
It's so simple. You just have this box and you're trying to make matches, but it's the banter, it's the conversation and the interactions that they're more character building moments. Like to this day, I always think of like Rob Sesternino asking Richard Hatch asking Rob for his sea sponge, and Rob is like, "You will never get my sea sponge." Like it's so cheesy and it's so fun. You got Boston Rob teasing Ethan. Jenna makes the mistake, and Ethan comes out as sassy and basically calls her stupid. Like it's so silly, but it's challenges like that. Whereas I think a little bit of levity and a spot of brightness is something that season needed, and it was fun. So,
and they're not hitting on each other like they were in Amazon.
Exactly. There's no flirting. Everyone kind of knows each other, and it's also a test of, hey, I know your friends. Are you going to talk to your friend here? So there was some strategy involved as well. But I think All Stars does deserve its reputation of being a dark season.
Yeah, and like I've said this entire time, this is probably my favorite experience watching All Stars since the first time I watched it back when it first aired. I think that because of the way that I watched these seasons, this is a fun little bookend to my first week doing this. It is, oh my gosh, I get all of these people back, and when they show flashbacks to these seasons, like, yeah, this is still fresh in my head, and I still feel the nostalgia, even though it just happened 3 days ago. And I think that as this continues, I feel like that will probably happen with Caramon and Game Changers as well, 2 other returnee seasons that I've never really been high on. As far as like, I feel like I could find a lot of positives and just kind of block out certain things that happened both of those seasons. So thank you both so much for joining me today. We have Steven back in 2 days, I believe, for Palau.
My personal favorite season. So I'm so excited. I have Karen behind me. Like, we are in for a good conversation.
I love Karen. Karen's amazing, and her acting is even better. So we have Steven back. Make sure to follow Steven on both. Oh, well, you can go. Just say.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Survivor Quotes X. I've got Kathy on as my profile picture for 10 years now. So if you want to follow me, you can. I post a lot of fun moments, some trivia, a lot of mildly interesting trivia, and just popular moments from the show that I like. And also something that I've stolen from Mario Lanza is his quote, little hidden gems, where he talks about moments that not many people like to bring up because they're not well known. So I like to do that on my accounts as well, trying to bring the spotlight onto lesser known characters and moments. And it's fun. I try to keep it positive and not dwell into all the toxic conversations that I see on Twitter a lot towards the show. I appreciate where we are and where we've been with Survivor.
I would say that you're one of my favorite profiles that I've followed over the last 5-6 years. I didn't know the online fandom existed until post-COVID. I thought it was just like me and my mom, the only people that watched Survivor. So COVID, realizing that there's this whole other world out here, and you were one of the first pages that I started following. And to this day, even when people do try to start mess on, like, in the comments, you just kind of put the kibosh on, like, hey, this is not meant to be anything other than this is a favorite moment of mine, or this is a fun fact. Like, I'm not here for the mess.
Yeah, I get a lot of nasty comments, and I don't want to dislike Survivor. It's my favorite show. It's been I'm in my Survivor room, like, right now. Like, it's my life, and I want to enjoy it. I don't want to hate on something. That's not to say I never criticize, but I'm not going to focus on the negative. I want to enjoy it.
And for Maya, I think this is your last time until hopefully you will join us for the live stream that we do one day 50. I live streamed the entire day. I have all my guests back throughout the day just to kind of say hey. So hopefully I can have you back for that. That will be June 28th.
Oh, that's my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
I guess final question, who would be your ally this season?
I got to go with Kathy. I'm a sucker for an older woman, so I would be her Malcolm to her Denise.
Okay.
Honestly, I'd want to ally myself with Rupert, I think. He just seems super cool.
You know, he's not going to flip on you. So yeah, and I would probably say, if I remove all bias from it, yeah, I would probably say Rupert, because I know that he will not flip on me. But that will be it. We'll be back tomorrow night for Survivor Vanuatu, one of my favorite seasons. I'm probably going to get started on it tonight, but maybe I'll take a little Survivor break for the next couple of hours. So thank you to both Maya, Steven. Thank you to everyone in the chat, everyone that's been tuning in after we go live, everyone in the comments, leaving me comments on Instagram. It's been amazing. We've got a lot of very fun guests continuing to happen as the weeks progress. So we will see you all in Survivor Vanuatu.